Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Cayenne Harris, Vice President of Education and Community Engagement at UMS. I'm thrilled to join you tonight on the occasion of this premiere screening of The Making of the Four Journeys. Cleo Parker Robinson is a part of our digital residency artist program, which was initiated last season as a response to the ongoing pandemic. As a digital residency artist, Cleo engaged remotely with students, audiences, and the public in Michigan and beyond. Tonight's documentary serves as the anchor project for Cleo's residency. Later, we'll be joined by filmmaker and documentarian Alan Dominguez, Raul Opaz Pastrana, director of photography, and Sean King, film composer. Now, please join me in welcoming Cleo Parker Robinson, founder, namesake, and creative executive director of Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, along with the choreographer of the Four Journeys, Viviana Amalia Basanta Hernandez, and Janelle Ione, as the international artistic coordinator for the project. We're so pleased to have you all here tonight. Thank you so much.
Hi, and it's wonderful to be here. Bravo.
Bravi to all of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We're delighted to be here.
We got through it. We're finally here.
Yeah.
And thank you for just having the faith that we could do it.
Of course, we never lost the faith, Cleo. I'm going to start with a question for you, Cleo. Family is a theme that emerges in this documentary. Your father comes up frequently when you talk about the history of the company, perhaps most notably here when you describe the love with which he built the stage, the original stage. Your son, Malik, is now the executive director of the company, and he talks about his early memories of the company itself. One of the dancers in the film talks about how her father danced and drummed with you. And another dancer had a baby during the pandemic and kept dancing until she gave birth. And so this thread of family is woven throughout the film. And it's really a part of the story, I believe, of the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble. So I wondered, what does family mean to you, Cleo? And do you see the company as a kind of family?
Oh, gosh, Cayenne, that's a wonderful question. I just thank you, first of all, for bringing this dance family together. When we didn't think we could come together at all in creating this wonderful Four Journeys, you really, and everyone there in Michigan said, well, we can support you. How do you want to be supported? And I feel like that was family for us. Just to embrace us and be imaginative and creative and problem solved with us throughout the whole journey. So, it is true that my family lifted me up first. My father and mother were both artists. My father was a janitor in a theater at the Bonfils, and had never, in high school and so on, he loved it, but there were very few parts for Black artists. And but he was interested in the whole magic of the theater, not just being on stage, but what does it take to be behind the scenes? And I think that's what Alan and Raul captured, some of the behind the scenes, which I love. My sister danced with me, my brothers and sisters. I was the oldest of four. So, and then we adopted several, and they were all a part of my company, everybody. My brother and sister danced. My brother played drums, did poetry with us. So it was very exciting. My mother did costumes. She was a French horn player in San Diego, very young. My father played other horns and didn't think the French horn was something anybody should listen to. He played, like trombone and trumpet and everything. But he became the first Black actor. So I became very young and involved in watching theater on stage and the magic of it. And the magic of how does it bring us together as a larger family. And so Malik was born into that, And then, of course, I met my husband of 51 years when I was 12. So he became a part of our family very early. So it really is very exciting to carry on this kind of family feeling. I call it one spirit, many voices, that we are a family of artists that carry the spirit of uplifting. And Viviana and Janelle have become a part of our family, and everyone who worked on this for the years that we've been working on it became a part of us.
Thank you so much, Cleo. And Viviana, of course, family is a big part of your legacy too. We learn in the documentary that your mother, Amalia Hernandez, the founder of El Ballet Folklorico de Mexico, knew Catherine Dunham, the legendary dancer, choreographer, and anthropologist. And I also understand that there's a deep connection in your family to Alvin Ailey. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about these relationships and these threads of connection between your family and the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble family.
Well, there are a lot of things, and I feel Cleo like she's my family. I really feel her. I will tell you a small story, but yes, my mother was really close with Alvin because Alvin also came to Mexico to put Revelations. So he made an audition with the Ballet Folklorico dancers. And she was really close to him because every time we went to New York, because the impresarios of that company was Salt Hurricane in New York. So when they start searching for the best choreographers to put the Cultural Olympics in Mexico, everybody said that Alvin Ailey was one of the best choreographers. After that, they became really close, right, because they talk too much and they talk a lot about arts and how they feel about the ethnic roots and how we can put it together, because at that time it was not so open that our Black heritage that we had in Mexico was it was everywhere, but nobody talks about it. And so my mother was really starting to, because she was really close, and then she was a close friend also with Jeffrey Holder. And we find something really strange, Cleo and I, at this time I went to Denver. My first solo was a Jeffrey Holder's choreography, and she also danced the same choreography with Jeffrey Holder's as teachers. So I think it's a really strange, because it was 30 years or 35 years ago, and that's a deep connection in the, I think, the roots and the feelings and the emotions. So I was always close to that dance. It was a feeling, because before my mother sent me with Alvin Nicolai, I was really awful dancing that. And when I arrived at Alvin Ailey School, I feel like I was from there. So every time we went to New York, my mother was really close with Alvin and Jeffrey Holder. So I think we learn a lot of things that you don't have the words to say what you learn. You learn a lot of feelings. And I think now that feelings are more close to Cleo, and it's deeper, all the things that we've done. And I'm really grateful to Cleo and to Janelle to put me in that place. So it was a great pleasure to work with Cleo. I learned a lot. She doesn't know, but I learned a lot of her. She's a great artist, a great person, a spiritual person. So she has a lot of qualities that we have to learn from her.
Oh,
Yes.
and I've learned so much from you, Viviana, absolutely. And we love Janelle for bringing us all together in such a magical way.
Yeah, so I'd love to bring Janelle into this conversation. And Janelle, could you just tell us a little bit about your connection to both companies and how you ended up in this role of really facilitating this international collaboration?
Sure, of course. Again, thank you for creating this incredible documentary and bringing us all together to really contemplate, this process of how we've been able to work of course, in Denver, in Mexico, in Singapore, and the documentary is phenomenal. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I actually grew up in Denver, dancing Mexican folk dance with Fiesta Colorado. Jeanette Trujillo has been teaching Mexican and Spanish dance for almost 50 years. She's a little bit behind Cleo.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the same generation. And I was very fortunate in my early 20s. I had the opportunity to go to Mexico City to audition for the Ballet Folklórico de Mexico. And I never imagined I'd be able to, as a foreigner, as an American, to work with this incredible company. So when I began dancing in the early 90s, Viviana was still dancing in her mother's company. And so it was wonderful to not only have Viviana as my mentor, as a director, but also to be able to learn from her watching her dance. I mean, I really feel that that's the best way to learn and to assimilate movement is to be dancing and following behind somebody. So I had almost 20-year career with Ballet Folklórico de Mexico. And on my first tour, we played Denver, which was phenomenal to come back to my hometown.
Wow.
And the company will be playing Denver again. They haven't been back to Denver since 95, in the spring of 2022. And so when I left the company about 10 years ago, I moved back to Denver and was really searching for what the next step in my career was. And I knew that, whether it was a combination of teaching and still doing a little bit of performing and producing, it was then when I was reintroduced to the institution, to Cleo Parker Robinson. And I think it was that searching for family, searching to be in an environment and in a community of artists where everybody's working together and, things might not always be comfortable because you're in each other's space, all of the time, in the office, in the studio, on tour, but it's a family. And there's a sentido común, as we say in Spanish, a commonality that keeps everything moving forward. So I worked with Cleo as her education director for about 3 years. And during that time, in of course, talking to Cleo and Malik, they were looking to research and be able to share with the community of Denver and the world, of course, the connection between Africa and Mexico. And of course, being a Viviana, my mentor and my very good friend, I said, well, you have to, meet Viviana and we have to go to Mexico. And so it was fantastic. We also worked with another choreographer out of Guadalajara, Jairo Eli. And on one of our trips to Guadalajara, where the company was performing, we stopped in Mexico City, and Cleo gave a master class to a combination of the Folklórico company, the Ballet Folklórico de Mexico, the big company, and also Viviana's contemporary company, Mexico en Movimiento. So bringing the two of them together in Mexico City in 2016 was really the beginning of this beautiful friendship and beautiful connection. And I'll never forget when we were together and both of them cried because they had these connections with Amalia and with Alvin and with Catherine and Jeffrey. And so that was really the where the seed was planted. And from there, we've been able to, we actually, the first piece that Viviana choreographed for Cleo Parker Robinson dance was the Mulata de Cordoba, which is another Afro-Mexican legend out of Veracruz. And after that was very successful. That's when Malik said, well, what can we do to capture the African essence in Mexico, but also what other influences so we can, reach out to the rest of the world. And it was really kind of cosmic because Viviana had mentioned that her mother had started a piece that was based on the history of the silk trade and the now of China, the galleons that came from the Philippines. And so when Mary Hart and I were attending APAP, the conference in New York, this was 3 years ago now, we said, we've got to make this happen. We really have to work to make this happen. And that was the beginning of looking for the funding and the beginning of writing the grant for Four Journeys. So it's been a journey in the short end of the journey, 3 years, but I think it's been a lifetime journey for all of us in many ways to be able to come together now with this beautiful piece. And I'm just so grateful. I feel so blessed to be a part of course, of the Cleo Parker Robinson family, being a Colorado native, and I took lessons before when I the first time I came to Mexico City and I met Amalia. She said, you have to be of course have technique and contemporary and ballet, and it's not only folklorico. So I went back to Denver and I said, oh my gosh, I need to take class. And I went to take class with Cleo. And that was it was the early 90s. They had just moved into the location of the church, the shorter church. So it really is incredible how we are. It's it was meant to be. It's a cosmic connection of dance, art, and just a celebration of who we are. And of course, Viviana, I feel very, very connected to the family of the Ballet Folklorico de Mexico, and very fortunate to have such a beautiful friendship and relationship with Viviana, and have worked under her mother and the direction of her sister, Norma Lopez, as well.
Yeah, so gosh, thank you so much, Janelle, for making those beautiful connections for us. And I think this theme of family just will keep reoccurring as we talk. I just wanted to say, the Four Journeys finally received its world premiere in Denver on September 25th, 26th. And so I wanted to ask Cleo and Viviana, what was it like to finally see it performed in front of an audience?
Oh my God, it was fantastic. It was breathtaking. We were everything. It all came together in a magnificent opera house.
Wow.
We were so blessed. I'm still feeling the vibrations of how the audience felt. We were waiting for the audience, but also the artists were so full and so inspired and gave it everything they had. They've been waiting. I mean, we've been rehearsing first online and then in Oklahoma when Viviana had a hip replacement. We've had a lot of journey with the piece. And then we were back on Zoom, and our beautiful rehearsal directors, Winifred Harris, my associate, and then Chloe Grant Abel, they were working so diligently in the Zoom, but there was nothing like having Viviana come and have us on stage with all of our fans. I mean, they stood up and cheered. I mean, right, and it was the second piece of the night. We didn't close it. We closed intermission. And that was a hard one for me to decide because I felt it was so magnificent. The music, the costumes, the dancing, the story. Of course, the images that Taketo in Japan and in Singapore had created. I thought, this is no way I'm going to end this in the intermission. It must end at the end. And then the more I began to think about it, I said, well, I want them to end the intermission so they can go out and talk about it. They can talk about it. And then they can go to the marketplace, which Janelle created, really wonderful. And then they can act like they're really in the spirit of coming together of all cultures. And it was magnificent, really. Cayenne, it was just, oh my gosh. So we will hopefully have a video that we can share with you. Yeah. But Viviana gave us a masterpiece, the music, everything. The dancers loved dancing for her.
And Viviana, you were able to join in Denver for the premiere, right?
Yes, I was there. I was really nervous, first of all. And I think everything, the dancers were great. Well, I worked with Winifred and Chloe really close. And I told Chloe, "You're my soul, and you're reading my mind, and you're doing better things." So I gave her a movement, and she always put it far away better. So it was really great. But to be with them and to see what they can express themselves and how they are really wonderful dancers, but they are really complete artists. I think we have dancers and artists.
Yeah.
So they can
Absolutely.
express what they move. Uh,
Yes.
they express with the soul, the movement. So there's a combination of emotions. So I was uh, nervous because they were so great that you have to make something great for them. So it was a lot of work. I start doing all the design of the clothes, how they can see beautiful, and this how they can see all those wonderful bodies. They really have a work bodies, and they have to show the movement with the dressing and with the all back. And now the music is the music of a friend of mine that is Arturo Marquez, but I really, really think he's one of the best composers in the world.
Yes. I love Marquez. I couldn't agree more.
Hopefully, we hopefully one day will do it with him alive with a symphonic, because he's also a great person. He's not only a great artist, he's so close and so inside person that can share a lot of things. And he's doing, there are a lot of works that he worked with us in the Ballet Folclórico in 2 or 3 performances. I did the El Danzo número 2 with the Folclórico, and I was really shocked when I hear the Leyenda de Emiliano before Revolution in the Folclórico. I thought, oh my God, what's this? And then he played another one that is not record yet. It's the Sarao from Campeche. It's a habanera. When it was it's going to be record. I'm going to send it to you because it's a mixture of the Afro and Spanish and how we mix it in the music.
Yes.
So I think that combination was wonderful, and Arturo always pushed you to do great things. Music push you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I don't want to cut this short because it's so beautiful to hear you talking, but there's someone really important that I think we should bring into the discussion right now, and that is the filmmaker, Alan.
I think so.
So, Alan,
another artist.
That is very generous of you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Alan, would you just tell us a little bit about, I believe that you had a prior connection to Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, there's a few, but I think the most obvious one was my daughter took dance classes at Cleo's studio for several years. I forget exactly how long it is, and I'm sure she's watching in the chat, so she'll probably throw it up there in a second. But I forgot exactly how many years it was, and so my Saturday mornings for a while were all spent in that rehearsal space, and even then I always wondered what that would be like to really capture the visual language of the dancer, because it's a visual language that is unknown to me only just as someone who appreciates it but doesn't really understand the process. And Malik and I have known each other for a number of years, going back to our high school days. So yeah, it was, and Cleo, of course, Cleo herself and Cleo her studio they're institutions in Denver. And I'm a proud native son of Denver, and so to be able to work with something that is so close to and has such deep ties to the city that I live in and the city that I've raised my children in was incredibly meaningful. I one of those once in a lifetime opportunities.
Well, Alan, I want to make sure that we have a chance to meet your colleagues who helped create this film.
Sure.
So for a moment, we're going to say goodbye to Cleo and Viviana and Janelle. But
Okay.
please we're going to welcome everyone back at the end so you can join up. And now I'm really, really thrilled to welcome Raul Opaz Pastrana, the director of photography, and Sean King, who composed the music for the film. So this is the team. You guys, congratulations on a really, really beautiful documentary. It's just, for me, it's just been a joy to watch it. I was part of the very early discussions when we were just dreaming something up. And I keep telling my colleagues here at UMS that you all exceeded my expectations so much. It's just a really, really beautiful film. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Alan, I'm going to start with you here.
Sure.
How did you approach the creation of this documentary? There's multiple storylines that emerge for the viewer. We learn about the history of the company. There's the story about replacing the stage. There's the development of the new work, obviously, that we've been talking about for a bit here. There's this like thread of social justice that's been really critical to, Cleo and her vision for the company. We see the commitment and dedication of the dancers sort of getting through the pandemic and staying really focused despite all these obstacles. And so I'm curious, as somebody who's never created a film, how do you identify these story arcs? And you're starting from a blank screen essentially, and so how do you start to see these stories emerge?
I think just initially when I was just kind of writing up, there's getting all my thoughts together, and when you realize how much material that there was, it's a little bit more lighthearted to think about it now, but it was in the middle of a pandemic, and it was. So the stakes were already kind of high because it was already, and I think that's what you look for as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. You look for high stakes, and you look for those natural conflicts, and how are we going to dramatically and ironic, but at the same time with a little bit of irony, how are we going to tell this story in a dramatic sense? And so the conflict, if for lack of a better way of putting it, was already kind of given to us in the sense that what the global was going through. And so I was kind of starting from a place of almost desperation, because it was pretty bleak when we began this last fall. And then the fun part became realizing how much the dancers' lives did continue. They never stopped rehearsing. They never stopped dancing. They would take pauses, but just that spirit was just amazing to really be able to witness. And when you get in there and we started talking to the dancers and stuff like that, we found all these natural storylines. I mean, Relea with the birth of her child, the stage being dismantled and then rebuilt. I had no idea that was happening until I got an email in November saying, would this be interesting to you? I said, yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. So we snuck in and we tried to make ourselves invisible as we could, and just getting to know the dancers as much as we could, given the limitations of course COVID, and they weren't always rehearsing the 4 journeys, but at the same time just making those great relationships with folks who are already very used to performing. That also helps, because sometimes I'm used to making films with folks that are not necessarily used to performing and they're a little camera shy. So that also really helped. And so I know that when Raul and I were driving out from shooting, we were just overjoyed. We were in the state of like, we don't have to worry about going back to get this, and this. Usually you're making a list of like, we forgot this, we have to go get that. And we just kind of looked at each other and said, let's just, man, that was a lot of fun. Let's just go relax and have a taco and think about the next shoot. So it was that part of it was all of it was, the actual shooting process was a blast, and it was very easy, and all those arcs came out very organically. And so when I began the editing, just try to stay true to those arcs and try to give all the time and space that each one that I felt deserved, and especially capturing the time and space that we were all in.
Great. So Raul and Alan, I don't know, you can, whoever wants to respond. I was really struck by the use of Zoom to connect, right? Like that's what all of us have been doing during this period, because it was the only way to be together. And I was thinking about it from a filmmaking perspective. you're filming people in a room who are watching a screen to see somebody else. And I was just wondering, like, how do you make that interesting? I mean, you've managed to do
Light
it.
74s have all the telltale characteristics of
It-
anamorphic.
What's
Some of them
going
have
on?
modern anamorphic lenses.
I'm not sure. I think that
Do you have something going? Is that you, Raul? Are you okay?
I think
But
we're okay.
I'll jump in for him just real quick. It was not
Sorry.
easy because like watching Zoom is not terribly interesting.
Between the dogs and sorry, guys.
But one rehearsal we were able to actually coordinate with Janelle. Janelle was actually was great in coordinating a shoot in Mexico City at the same time. And then it was just a matter of hoping that everything was going to match up in the editing process. And I was amazed at how well I could actually cut between two countries, which I had never done before. But it actually the footage was captured in a way that it was not that difficult to do. It was just a matter of finding the right moments and really staying true to that artistic process. And I know Raul, go ahead and Raul, talk about a little bit just what it was like shooting screens.
Yep. Sorry about my dogs, though. They came in and they push my keyboard. And something start playing. I don't know why she wants to be part of this. What was the question? Sorry, Alan.
No, it's just about shooting on Zoom. How did you manage to keep that fresh and interesting?
That was happening. You know, we just got close, decided to just not be shy away, and all the dancers were so used to us that it was very easy to just bring the camera in and just get there. I think the hardest part were the mirrors, so that Alana and I will not be on the shot, but because they're all on where they are dancing and practicing, there are a lot of mirrors. But yeah, the Zoom was just pretty organic and pretty interesting, though. To me, the most interesting part in those terms was when they took their mask off and they finally could breathe, and you can tell because we've been filming them with the masks on, and then after without the mask, that was a stark difference as well. So there were a lot of things that were happening that are off the moment, Zoom, masks, that we were just there, and we were just lucky to be there and to have such a crew that allow us to get close to them.
Yeah. It worked beautifully, and I'm so glad you captured it. Such a kind of moment in time that's captured. I wanted to turn to Sean just to ask us, would you just tell us a little bit about the process of creating a score for an original film like this? What do you do? Where do you come in?
Kind of later in the process, Alan was like starting to send me some pictures of like what was happening, and he invited me to one of the shoots, which was fantastic because I got to just hang out in the studio. And of course, I should say before this, like I've known Alan for years, and we've wanted to work on something of this magnitude, and also just to be able to work on anything that has to do with Mrs. Robinson, the icon that she is in town, and also you could see it in one of the shots where I think there's like a drone shot that rises up. That church and that building and that studio is also iconic in this town, so it's just an honor to work on something like that. But coming in late in the game is what always happens with a composer, but to be able to like visit the studio was helping me kind of get the vibe. And then Alan was talking about the pacing of it and talked about how there's going to be some slow motion elements, which I was just so excited about because it's a real joy to make things that can take up more time and develop over multiple seconds rather than just 2 seconds, and have something that feels like a caper. So just I knew that the pacing would be great, and then culturally, what just I have a lot of attachment to Mexico, like having lived there, and then learning about Viviana and just the whole thing coming together was it's something like I thought like, wow, this is a real gift to be able to work on this. And I called my friend Lee Hogans, who's in Harlem, and actually he just started a great new job at the Harlem School of the Arts, and he's a great trumpet player. So there's a part in the beginning where we use a little bit of like a melancholic trumpet sound, which is in the context feels like a little bit lonely, which I think is the start of it. But by the end of the film, we're like getting like more positive and more positive. So it just the process. I don't know. I can't speak for Alan, but it felt pretty seamless as far as like our communication and like what we wanted to achieve. It seems like we got to it pretty, without any snags.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys were an incredible team. Alan, you referenced that there was another film crew in Mexico City. Is that right?
That is correct. Janelle had a good connection with some folks that were there, and that is, and we were able to use the same camera and lenses and all that kind of stuff, which is always what makes me nervous. And then and then there's 1,000 technical things that can always go wrong when you're doing that, and so that was probably when I lost a little bit of sleep, just making sure that it was all going to sync up. But it really came together beautifully. I mean, yeah, Raul and I were we talked to them on the way to the studio that day. They were in Mexico City making sure everything was all set, and we talked them through what we were thinking, and they did really a magnificent job. I mean, I was very, very relieved first, and then really just really amazed by their work. They did a really, really beautiful job. And then and working with Sean, I mean, so Raul and I, of course, are we work together. We're there at the shoot, and then so it's and we've gotten to a point where we're communicating pretty easily. And then when Sean also needs to add to his list of talents as mind reader, because I have no musical background, and so the very little that I can communicate in sonic terms, Sean is just like, I think I know what you're doing. I think I know I got it. And then a few days later, lo and behold, it's exactly what I could never communicate in words. So this was great because Sean and I had talked about this for working together on something for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so this is just great that it all meshed at the right time, and couldn't be a better project.
Well, congratulations to all of you. It's just stunningly beautiful. So thank you. I think what we want to do now, there'll be a lot of people on screen, but let's welcome back Cleo, Viviana, and Janelle. And I want to give you all a chance to talk to each other a little bit. Also, for anybody who's watching out there, if you have questions, you can throw them into the chat, and I will try and monitor, and we can answer any questions that you have. But I just also wanted this group to come back together to share any reflections that you have that you wanted to share with one another.
Yes. Well, I want to say something. Sean, I didn't knew you before, but I love your music. So we must do a choreography with your music.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that, Viviana. I hope we can, have a visit in DF. No sé por dónde está usted, but we should definitely hang out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Alan, igual, felicidades. I think that the commentary is an art by itself.
Thank you.
And Raul, thank you for letting us be ourselves, not to place ourselves in a place where you want, but you let us move and feel free to. So you were catching the freedom also. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I would just really quickly, just with Cleo and the company, and then Viviana and Janelle making all those connections. You just look for material, and then when I'm able to work with a cinematographer of the caliber of Raul, who is very modest, but at the same time, I mean, it's like just expands this palette. I mean, I felt like Bob Ross with 2 full palettes, and then Sean adds another palette. I mean, it was just, I had a lot of material to use, and on top of the stuff that was already happening, and so I definitely need to recognize the contributions of everybody, and probably folks that I'll forget, but and our post-production sound mixer did an incredible job of taking stuff that I do not understand. I even know less about audio mixing, so just worked out very, very beautifully, and I really appreciate your kind words.
Alan, we have a question from a viewer that I wanted to pose to you, which is,
Sure.
How long did filming take from start to finish?
We started at the end of October, and we shot a little bit in October and November, and then COVID really wrought havoc with the schedule in the winter months. So December, January, February. They had their first meeting together, like as a Zoom team in February, mid-February. And then I think it was when I was keeping track of the footage, I believe we shot for about 18 days, 18 full days, and so that was, which is, in some ways it's a lot, but at the same time I think we were very strategic about getting exactly what we wanted to get. And what really took, and of course, I was kind of cutting as little bit as I went, and then the real capper was when Viviana and Janelle were there for rehearsals in early June. And that was really when I could really dig into this, because then I could see all the threads and how they were going to come in and out. And that's really when I got really active with Sean and trying to figure out how this is going to all sonically work with the visuals. But which is, I mean, it's just spread out over a long bit of time. But at the same time, I think that we were very efficient the way we worked it out.
I just wanted to add that it would, along with Viviana, how magical it was, the entire process. And I'm still trying to grasp how it all happened. It's still like a kind of a mystery to me. It's magical and mystical, and it's miraculous, because I think with so much going on in everyone's life, that was so bizarre that we couldn't quite understand it. We were able to be hopeful, perseverant. I mean, people were really like, whatever it is, we're gonna keep getting through it. I think it was a gift to all of us that we could work on something that we believed in and work through some very difficult times. Really, really difficult. I mean, COVID was no joke, and we had lots of people that were so ill, and I mean, even Malik, who I don't know if he's able to come on, but and Mary, both of them very ill during that time. I mean, people were just going through everything. Dancers not being able to breathe when we were working, and then I loved it that you captured that moment of, oh God, we finally can breathe and take off these masks. You captured so many extraordinary moments that I was so tickled. I couldn't believe that you had the breadth of not only the work itself, but the moment we were in. And the music, Sean, absolutely. I only saw you that one day, right when we were beginning, and then here we are with the score.
You're too kind, Cleo. I think I think everything you did and to be involved with something, of such a epic proportion with you. You guys made and Alan, the way you captured the vibe of COVID, which is like hopeful but also cautious, and I think this piece is really going to stand for a long time, to just remember, because I don't think at any point you were trying to say that it was easy or like, look at how we got through. No. I think it's very clear that you're capturing the vibe at the time with still having hope, which is kind of what we're all doing.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think we knew how to get through it, but go ahead, Janelle. Yes.
No. I have to agree with Sean that, as Viviana mentioned, that there are dancers, and then there are dancers who are artists. I think it's really beautiful how all of us artists came together, and being able to, as dancers with music, we, feel different dynamics in the music, and when you hold back and when you move forward. And I really appreciate that with Alan and Raul, and of course, Sean, and your beautiful score, is being able to capture all of those textures of what we were living at the time. So it goes, the history of the Four Journeys and why we created the piece is phenomenal. And it's so important to create unity in our communities. But going through all of this during COVID, there was so much more to capture, whether we wanted to or not. And it was beautiful how the three of you could capture the dynamics and the textures and the subtleties and make all of us look so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
that was the easiest part.
I mean, right? Yeah, but it really is amazing how, whether we're dancers or filmmakers or musicians or Taketo, as an animator, I mean, we were all able to connect, being in different parts of the world and through Zoom, and with all of these incredible limitations, we were able to focus and come together and move through all of those steps or phases and dynamics, and be able to you captured those beautifully, and it has. I mean, I watched the documentary for a second time today, and I just like, oh my gosh, I have to watch this like another 3 times before I can really understand.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I know our co-founder was there, Shalene.
Yes,
and Shalene was so. I mean, Shalene started the company with me 51 years ago, and for her to see it, she was absolutely moved. She said, "I think this is the most magnificent documentary," and she's helped make documentaries. She's been working in film and all of the arts for many, many years, but she was just absolutely moved. And I think it was because there was nothing that was contrived. And also you gave us a place of feeling safe about being absolutely where we were without trying to create where we were. We were where we were. And I think she sensed it. Also, I think she sensed a great sense of trust, that we just trusted in the moment. We trusted in each other. We'd never done it before. Never. We'd never worked together. This isn't like our third or fourth film. This was, we all kind of met each other and went for it. But I think there was something really very beautiful and divine that maybe is good for the country, good for our country, and good for the world. And I speak it sort of in a way that people are looking for things that they can attach to that really aligns them with a higher kind of purpose and beyond our own circumstances. And we all have certainly lots of circumstances during this time, but it sort of allowed us to maybe discover something beyond the circumstance that we're in. And I'm so grateful to every one of you as artists for the beauty that you shared. Absolutely.
So, Cleo, thank you for those wise and beautiful words. On behalf of everyone at UMS, I just wanted to thank this entire team. You produced something really extraordinary, and we're so grateful. We're so happy that we're able to share it with audiences. I want to make sure everybody out there knows that the making of the 4 journeys will be available on demand on the UMS website until Monday, October 11th. So if you enjoyed it, let folks know, spread the word, watch it again. And thank you so much to all of you for joining us for this discussion tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone at UMS for all
Gracias,
of their
Viviana,
support.
Cleo, Janelle.
Gracias.
Yes, I just want to echo what Cleo just said. Thank you to UMS for your very kind support. You were all great to work with. And then Cleo, thank you for letting us bug you all so much. We are so appreciative of the time, and it was really an honor to be able to shoot with you all.
We love you. We expanded the family just tenfold. We expanded it again and again, honey. Thank you. Love you all.
Love you too, Cleo. Thank you so much. Gracias a todos.
Gracias a todos.
Viviana.
Gracias, Cayenne.
Janelle, thank you, Janelle.
Gracias. Lots of love. Thank you. Bye. John.
Adios.
Bye.